Yeah, Vikram, very long time. So I'm really glad to be here with you again. Thank you very much for this new kind of mediation discussions. Now the who, how, where, all your questions, they're very nice and very useful questions to discuss this matter. And yeah, so thank you for the invitation.
And the main thing
Very
is that
much. I'm so
the,
pleased to be here.
the passion that you were doing this from the car. That's the most
I'm
interesting
doing it
part.
for the car. Yeah. I'm in
So
a
nice.
family day ride to the beach.
Okay,
So
so
yeah,
okay, so that's the passion we need. So this is what we're doing, mediation legislation, and that's all the questions that Ximena is talking about: how, what, when, where, which, who, why. I don't know how many Ximena can answer now with the time limit that she has, but Ximena,
perhaps one, perhaps one.
maybe that also is a difficult one. But you want to,
Yeah,
what if just a short kind of introduction about yourself, and then let's go straight to mediation legislation, please.
perfect. I'm a mediator. My profession is agriculture engineering, so it's very different from a mediation area. But and I work in mediation since 19 years. In April, I started mediating non-stopping since April 2004. So now I'm having my 19th anniversary in the 22th of April, because I know the date my first mediation was. So yeah, I'm very glad. And I love mediation. I mediate in different areas, in business mediation and in health mediation, in hospitals problems with patients and doctors. And well, that's principle. And also workout mediation in a business, inside with the people that works inside the business. So and some family mediation, but mostly relationship mediation, not the one for the the law mediation. And so that's what I'm doing. I love to mediate. I can mediate almost from Monday to Monday, if I could, if my family will allow it, and they don't, so I cannot mediate so much. But I mediate a lot during the weekdays. So I love to do this. Yeah, I
Perfect.
love my job.
So now the mediation legislation in Chile, let's just look at that. How much more we
Yeah,
can do? Let's, yeah.
perfect. In Chile, we have just in two areas it is mandatory to mediate in Chile. That's family issues and health issues. So all other, for example, in the civil law, we do not have yet mediation. So if you have a problem with the contract, you cannot mediate first. If you want, of course, you can do it, but it is not mandatory to do it. So just in health issues and family issues, you have to. It is pre trial and mandatory to do it. In the beginning of my experience, I did a lot of family mediation for the before the trial. I don't do that, not so much, because I'm really like, I don't like it so much anymore. And it's very demanding emotionally, the family business, the family issues. So I stopped for a while, and now I'm mediating in litigation, in pre-litigation in health issues with the public hospitals here in Chile. In my country, we have two different health insurance. It's the public one and the private one. If you have private health, you are very lucky, because then you have good doctors and good hospitals. If you have public health insurance, you are really not in a good situation, because it's not very good. And so we have a lot of problems there. And that's why we have a lot of mediations, because of the health problems. So what we do is if you have a problem with for example, with a surgery, with a doctor, with a nurse, with some something you was done for you in a hospital, and you do not agree with that, you think that there was a damage in your health because of that, you have to go and ask for a mediator. That mediator, in my case, we are all in a list of health mediators, and I work for the Defense State Council in my country, and there's a list, and they say, okay, that mediation goes for you. So I received already the mediation and the problem. And what I do next is I have a telephone contact with the patient, because there's always the patient who asks for the mediation. So I have a first telephone contact with that person. That part is for me the best one, when I really talk with the patient and ask him, which is your problem? What was how are you doing now with your health issues? What happened? What do you want to be, the topics of the mediation? What do you want to talk about? When we are going to have the session, the mediation session. So that's like a pre-mediation with the patient.
But this is,
and then,
but Ximena, this is part of the legislation that you have to do this?
Yeah, of course.
Process is put down there. The process is there.
Well, the process itself doesn't say that you have to have a contact by telephone. That's my personal way of doing it, because if I receive the case, I just can email the person and also send an invitation to the physical place where they are living. And that's what I have to do by law. But I like to have a contact by telephone, because it's my way of putting some balance in the mediation table, because the lawyers that works for the hospital, they're always the same ones. So when I go into the mediation audience or session, I already know for example, if the hospital X, well, there's a lawyer, one or two, always the same lawyers from that hospital X. So when I go into the mediation and I do not know the patient, never heard of him or her, and never talked to him or her, I think it's not quite fair, because it also in the first session is that if I had to say hello to all the people there, the lawyers are very familiar to me, because we worked along together a lot of mediations, but the patient is not. So for me, having a first conversation with them and give them all the time they need to express themselves and they're always huge problems, so they're not in the best mood, of course. So that gives me like, okay, I know you a little bit also, the same as I know the lawyers.
The thing is that you've come in late, so now we don't have the option of discussing this. Now we only have time to discuss the legislation. That's where the problem lies.
Okay.
Otherwise, this could have been actually an important part, that how legislation puts it and how a mediator looks at it from the benefit. That's a very important part that you're putting there. But only thing is that you don't have too much time for that. That's the only thing. So just
that's the only thing. Yeah, I know. Okay, so so in the first session of a health mediation, the people can say why they have to they ask the mediation, and what they are looking for. It can be like money compensation. It can be an apology from the doctor. It can be also something for example, a special time with a special doctor that he needs. So I need an hour with a specialized doctor because of my damage, and we can also figure it out how we can manage to do it. So you can ask a lot of questions, a lot of things in the health mediation, not only money compensation. And so if there's an agreement in this area, we have to write an agreement, and it has to be signed by all the people that work in the mediation. If the person says, okay, I do not want to mediate anymore, because it is mandatory to go to mediation, But once you are in the mediation, in the first moment you are in the mediation, that's a voluntary process.
Good.
So it can be also in the first session. It has never happened to me, but they are allowed to, in the first session, says, okay, thank you very much, I do not want to mediate now. So then I have to give them a certificate that they were in the mediation, but then it's a voluntary process, so they can go to the trial and go to the jury and say, well, you jury have to solve my problem. So that's the legal mediation here in Chile, and there's a lot of mediations in health problem here, a lot. So yeah, that's the two areas here in Chile: family and health problems.
And in relation to who can be a mediator in that, is there some regulation there?
Yeah, in both cases, in family and health issues, there's no need to be a lawyer to be a mediator. You know, so you can have but you have to have a university degree in order to be a mediator, and you have to have well, of course, mediation studies and mediation practice, hours of practice also. That's mostly the thing you have to have the request for being a mediator here in Chile. Yeah.
Okay, so some regulation as to who a mediator can be, but now otherwise, I mean, this is part of the health and the family. But in general, otherwise, if someone wants to mediate or they want to go in for mediation, is there any requirement for those mediators? I mean, this is something that this is part of a process that you're saying mandatory from, if you have to take this step and then move to whatever you want to do in terms of filing a case or whatever. But what about those cases where this is not a situation, just people want to mediate? Is there any requirement to be a mediator, or I mean, anything on that legislation also, if you some thoughts on that?
Yeah, if it's out of law, you know, mediation out of law, yeah, well, everybody can be a mediator. Because, for example, in the cities, there's a lot of problem with the neighbors. So any neighbor can be a mediator between two other neighbors in a problem. So yeah, because it's in the private area, so there's no request for the specialty in a mediator.
But is there a legislation there which actually, in terms of the settlement that they get into, is there any special kind of a, like is it like a court decree or anything, or is just another contract?
It's another contract, and as in Chile civil law, we do not have any mediation yet. So all private contracts, it doesn't matter if they're made up for a mediation agreement or because of a jury agreement. So yeah, almost anybody can be a mediator in that case. In for example, civil, but on one hand, anybody can be a mediator. you don't have a, if it's out of law, but also no one would call you if you don't have special studies and if you don't have experience enough. So yeah, for being a mediator here in Chile, you really have to work hard for people to believe in you.
Perfect.
So that's
now the situation is
main
that
reason.
Aman's time, and Aman is right here, so we'll get him in. But tell me one thing, Ximena, isn't it cold for the beach? Is the water still all right? Or is it's getting cold, I'm sure?
Well, now it's very cloudy, so we're hoping that the sun will come in an hour or 2 more hours. So then we're gonna go to the beach. Yeah, it's like 20 degrees now here, so it's, yeah, I hope to get into the sea.
So winter's just coming in. Winter's just coming in. That's what you say. The winter hasn't really.
Yeah, winter is coming. Yeah, yeah, we're in autumn now. We're in autumn.
Perfect. So,
yeah. What is it there in India? Is it hot?
Delhi. Look, I mean, India, of course, is huge. So Delhi, where I am.
Yeah, it's Delhi.
We are hitting 40 degrees now. So
40 degrees. Whoa, that's a lot.
We are getting there. So that's, of course, is going to happen. So Ximena, one thing is that
in winter time.
yes, she's still in winter. Yeah,
Till
she's
winter.
she's
But
she's waiting for a summer. She's waiting for her summer, and Ximena is moving into.
But
So,
Rafaela, you're in springtime now in Italy.
in
Are you
Italy,
in
yeah,
springtime?
springtime, but it's so cold. It's like winter time. It's like
Yeah.
Christmas rather than
but
Easter.
Aman, you can join us if you want to put your video on. So, Ximena, on the 19th, we have a workshop to just generally talk about what a legislation, a model legislation kind of thing based on the discussions we had. So please be part of that. So then we can have more discussions with you. Today, there's a little limited time because Aman's session is here. So thank you very much, Ximena.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Vikram.
And we'll see you
Thank
then.
you